Welcome to episode 18 of Secret City Geek Lab, your resource for everything geek. We'll talk movies, TV, comic books, video games, and anything geek. I'm your host, Alan Ng, and you'll hear from me and members of the improv comedy group, Secret City Comic Society. This week we are joined by Joey Shope, Opie, Dimitri, and Michael. Today's show is brought to you by Secret City Comic Society, the best in all ages improv comedy in downtown Fullerton. Visit Secret City Comic Society and the Geek Lab at secretcitycomedy.com. Coming up this week, Superman, the Man of Steel movie review, Under the Dome television review, and State of Decay, a video game review. We first start off with a movie review of Man of Steel. In this reboot of the Superman story, we are subjected to yet again another origin story. And in this case of Man of Steel, it works. Man of Steel follows the beginnings of Clark Kent from his birth to his revelation to the world as Superman. The story is told in mixed timelines, and the story starts with incredible Hulk-like moments where we find Clark wandering through the country trying to find himself. Man of Steel tells the story of Clark Kent's arrival on Earth as he escapes the destruction of his home planet Krypton. He's not the only survivor, but he does hold the keys to continue the race of Kryptonians on Earth. As he grows up on Earth, Clark is warned by his adoptive father that he is an alien, and if anyone was ever to find out that he was an alien with superpower, the government would try to capture him and experiment on him. In other words, Clark can never let people know who he really is. This is an origin story, and the retelling of this origin works. As a baby, Clark escapes the destruction-carrying secrets of his home world. He is now being hunted by General Zod and his armies to get those secrets back and to rebuild Krypton on Earth. As Clark finds the wreckage of his spaceship, as well as the Fortress of Solitude, we learn more and more about his home world, as well as some of the nagging questions from the original movie and comic books, such as where did Superman's costume come from, and why does it have an S on it, and why does anyone wear a cape while doing battle? These questions are never really answered in the Christopher Reeves form of the movie, but they are answered adequately here in Man of Steel. We also see how, being on Earth, Clark is able to get great power, and what happens when he leaves the Earth. The best thing about Man of Steel is that cast. It's perfect from top to bottom. Yes, even Kevin Costner. Russell Crowe brings strength and wisdom to Jor-El. Michael Shannon plays the maniacally sympathetic villain. Kevin Costner and Diane Lane are the typical American family instilling Midwestern values to a young Superboy. And Amy Adams comes off as a smart and confident Lois Lane, although she does have a moment where she screams like a little girl. And seeing Lawrence Fishburne as Perry White, it was also refreshing. Zack Snyder brings a dark edge to what Richard Donner first created in Superman. Although dark, it is often as real and relatable as it possibly can be. The reality is you want to be able to sympathize with the plight of this alien fish out of water. And also, when you're when you're indestructible, it's hard to do that. Snyder succeeds in placing us in the shoes of Clark Kent. But my only real problem with this movie is the second half of the movie. It's all action with very little breaks, and it just kind of wears on you after a while. This is the point where I started looking at my watch, wondering when this movie is going to end, and it was just getting kind of frustrating. It just doesn't give you an opportunity to breathe. The action just comes upon you and upon you. I also appreciate the level of destruction that falls upon Metropolis. It's real. People die. Everything crashes down. A lot of damage being done, and they make no bones about the fact that this was an epic battle. Superman is the proper retelling of the Superman story. The setup for the next chapter is going to be interesting because they can now go anywhere. And finally, don't bother to stick around to the end of the credits. The credits are just the credits. There's no surprise ending. And that's my review of Superman, Man of Steel. You're listening to KTST-FM. I'm Alan Ng, and you're listening to the Secret City Geek Lab. Coming up next, we have more reviews of the Man of Steel featuring the cast of Secret City Comic Society. Our first review is going to come from Michael Garati of Secret City Comic Society. I'm with Michael Garati. Michael, what did you think of Man of Steel?
You know, I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun.
Okay, you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah.
A lot of people are saying that it really wasn't a Superman movie.
Well, I mean, he had a red cape. You know, he didn't have the red underwear, but he was there. He was Superman. I'm not a big avid reader of the comics, but I do read some of the comics, and it felt very Superman-y. It's important to remember that he's a fledgling hero in this movie, so he's not going to be the perfect Superman we all may want, but he is a good Superman.
What were some things you liked about it?
Visually, it was beautiful. It was a very great movie. It looked fantastic. It was pretty well written. All the actors that were in it, stellar jobs. Amy Adams, is that her name? The redhead chick? She did so good, and I didn't think she was going to do well at all, so prove me wrong.
What were some things you didn't like about the movie?
You know, there should have been more Kevin Costner. I thought he was such a good role, and they kind of did away with him too early on for me.
All right, from a scale from 1 to 10, how would you rate Man of Steel?
7.5. No, 8. Solid 8.
All right, great, thanks. That was Michael Garani, and now we're going to interview Opie.
One thing I liked about Man of Steel for sure was, even though it is an origin movie, they were able to put every single important detail together in a really concise and quick manner, but yet not make it. It was not almost too rushed. They did it in a good pace.
Right.
And the special effects were amazing. The ending, especially, I was not expecting the ending at all. How it ended.
Yeah.
But I thought they set up it was a really good setup for the DC Universe.
Okay, and what did you not like about the movie?
One thing I didn't like about the movie was Superman and Lois Lane's relationship. I felt that was, I said it wasn't rushed earlier, that I felt was rushed.
A little forced. It
just kind of came out a little too fast.
Yeah.
It's too fast. I also didn't like, I felt like it needed more Kevin Costner. I like Kevin Costner's character a lot. Especially how, well, I'm not ruining anything part of the movie, but especially how I just felt he needed to be more into the movie, and that's I think the only thing I didn't like. I think I needed more Kevin Costner and more fleshing out of Lois Lane and
Superman's relationship.
Yeah.
And so from a scale from 1 to 10, what would you rate it?
I'll give it an 8.
8. All right, great. This is Opie.
Yeah, this is Opie.
Thanks a lot, Opie. And now we're going to move on to a descending position with Joey Shope. All right, here's Joey Shope with his review of Man of Steel. What do you think about Man of Steel?
I think they were trying to make a Batman movie, and then they tried to fit in Superman, and it did not go over well.
All right, explain.
Well, because, it was Nolan, so, we had 3 dark Batman movies, which I liked, and then they tried to do that with Superman, which I don't like, because Clark Kent and Superman were never these dark, brooding characters. They were... they were aliens. He was an alien from a different world. He was a stranger among us. But he became a human. He became a good person. Ma and Pa Kent, from before this movie, have always told him, do right above all else. They didn't care as much about, they cared a lot about, his safety and, his identity. But they were way more concerned with doing right first because they were simple, humble people from Kansas. But then Superman decides to do away with all that and let just buildings fall over instead of doing, granted what they did in Superman 2, fly him to the Fortress of Solitude or, the moon or something, They had all these options that they could have done with. But, no, we'll stay in Metropolis and let the city crumble. I think you had posted something where it cost like $2 trillion to fix all of that, of the taxpayers' money.
Yes, exactly.
It just, if it wasn't Superman and this was just some other character, I probably would have liked it more. But it's because I've seen Superman in like the cartoons growing up. I had this idealism of Superman, and it does not translate to Man of Steel. It's more like a dark, brooding Superman, which I don't think Superman has ever been a dark, brooding Superman.
All right, good. So, give me some redeeming qualities.
Visually, all right. Visually, above... at certain parts above the Avengers. At certain parts, the quality of the Avengers. I feel like the Avengers is now the standard of, superhero movies. Man of Steel matched that or did better.
From a visual standpoint.
Yeah, when they're on Krypton, it's very cool. The dad character flying on a dragon. That was really awesome.
Okay, anything else you liked?
The guy who plays Superman looks the part.
He was hunky. You felt he was hunky?
Yeah, I'm not into it, but I totally get it. Totally fine. Another issue was, oh man, I forgot it. Who's the chick?
Oh, Amy Adams.
No, who did she play?
Lois Lane.
Another issue that I had with the movie was Lois Lane. She was just essentially there so people could explain the movie to her. She was essentially used only for exposition, where, again, I feel like Zack Snyder doesn't write well for women, because she was always just there going, what's going on? And somebody would be, this is what's going on.
So you felt like she wasn't really integral to the story.
Yeah, I mean, the love between Superman and Lois Lane almost felt forced, but whereas, you watch in cartoons or read in comics, it's generally there, but this one felt more like they have to get together because everyone says so.
All right, so from a scale from 1 to 10, how'd you rate Man of Steel?
I don't know, a 5.
5, okay. Joey Shope for Secret City Geek Club. Nope. And then moving on to our comic book expert, Dimitri Pereira, with his thoughts on Man of Steel. All right, here's a movie review with Man of Steel with Dimitri Pereira. Dimitri, what did you think of Man of Steel?
I thought it was a good movie. It wasn't the perfect movie, but it was a pretty great movie.
Yeah,
sure.
Most would complain that it's not a Superman movie.
Well, those people don't know what they're talking about. I grew up on the animated series and then found my way into the comic books, and I feel that, yes, this Superman isn't the Superman we all have known and loved, but this Superman is in his first year, not even his first year of his, being Superman. And so I feel he's allowed to make the mistakes as long as he learns from it. I feel that, this Superman is going to make mistakes. And I feel that because this is the first movie, I hope, in, a trilogy or whatnot, kind of like Batman Begins and whatnot, this Superman's allowed to make mistakes as long as he learns from it, and maybe the next movie will deal with the ramifications of his choices. And so I don't view this as a betrayal of the character. In fact, I view this as the foundation for the character that we all know and love.
And the foundation for movies to come.
Yeah.
All right. What are some things you liked about the movie, specifically?
I thought the action scenes were amazing. Some people say it was a little bit too long, but there was the Battle of Smallville. The Battle of Smallville had a lot of fight scenes that were reminiscent of the animated series, the Bruce Timm animated series. The actual use of super speed to combat opponents was amazing, and you don't normally think of Superman with super speed because he can fly. The fact is he does have super speed, and he can use it as such, and so can the Kryptonians. So I thought the fight scenes were really great. I thought Amy Adams as Lois Lane was really great. I was a bit hesitant at first, but she brings that sass, that bravado to the role. And Henry Cavill, I thought, was a great Superman. I think he's born to play Superman. I hope that the sequel allows him to shine a little bit more.
Okay, and what are some things you didn't like about the movie?
What did I not like about the movie? I thought the whole the Christopher Nolan-esque flashbacks weren't necessarily... They fit for Batman Begins, but they didn't necessarily fit for Man of Steel as much.
So you didn't like the timeline jumps?
I liked it to an extent. There were certain timeline jumps that worked, certain ones that didn't. I think that Ma and Pa Kent were a little bit off. I feel that whereas Superman has the room to grow, Ma and Pa Kent, they're old, they're established characters. They aren't necessarily growing, and so when there's mischaracterization on Ma and Pa Kent, I mean, they're not going to change. I feel, yeah. And so,
well, spoiler: Pa Kent dies. So,
oh,
well, that's
thanks for spoiling it for me.
Like no one knew.
Yeah. Right. Pa Kent dies, and I feel that. I don't know. I feel that he should have had a bigger impact on Clark.
More than just, hey, don't reveal who you are.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that was a big theme throughout the whole movie was don't reveal who you are. But the Ma and Pa Kent that we all know and love, wouldn't say keep your secret and don't save anyone. They would say save people and keep your secret at the same time. And that you can do both.
All right. So from a scale from 1 to 10, how would you rate Man of Steel?
I thought Man of Steel was at 8. 8 out of 10, a good solid 8 out of 10. I thought there was a lot of great parts in it. I thought that it will lead to an amazing sequel. The whole destruction of, 2 whole American towns, the destruction of those towns leads very well into a second movie, and you can have Superman deal with the consequences of his choices.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Listen to Alan Ng and the Secret City Geek Lab on KTST-FM. Moving right along, that was our movie review of Man of Steel, and now we're going into a television review of Under the Dome. Under the Dome is on CBS and Amazon Prime and is based on Stephen King's best-selling novel about a small town that is suddenly and inexplicably sealed off from the rest of the world by a massive transparent dome. It stars Mike Vogel, Rochelle Lefevre, and Britt Robertson. This is a Secret City Geek Lab review of Under the Dome. How do you do justice to a Stephen King novel? You make it a TV series. In comparison to a 2-hour movie or an 8-hour miniseries, a full-fledged TV series allows the entire story to be told, provided it's a good story and appeals to the right audiences. Based solely on the pilot episode, Under the Dome is a good start. It does everything that the pilot needs to do. It sets up the situation, a giant dome is placed over a tiny town, it sets up major characters, and gives hints to some kind of a mystery. You have to start strong because you're asking the audience to become invested in a serialized miniseries such as this. And this means the audience has to come back week after week or they'll miss major pieces of information. On paper, Under the Dome is in good hands. Let's not overlook the big players involved. Stephen King as the writer, Steven Spielberg, producer, and Brian K. Vaughan as the screenplay writer. Now let's talk about the what if. Under the Dome tells the story of a small town in Maine called Chester's Mill. It's a small town, and one day a giant dome lands right on top of it. The reason is unknown. It just appears. The dome is strong and nothing can go through it, and the inhabitants now live in a living terrarium. The first question is, what happens if a dome suddenly drops on a town? And you have to address those issues. There's lots of scenes of cars, planes, and animals trying to crash through it. And then you have to work with the environmental impact of it. Power lines that were connecting that city with other cities are down. Cell phone, landlines, television, radio signals are cut off from the outside world. And if you happen to be passing by at that time, you're stuck in a town that's not even yours. If loved ones are working in another town, you're now separated from them. Good what if. Moving on, a serialized show like this has to have characters you want to be involved with. And this has all those characters you need. A town sheriff, his deputy, street smart reporter, high school lovers, the city councilman who has a secret about the city, and a mysterious stranger who comes to Chester's Mill to bury a body in the backwoods of a man he's just murdered. And then you have to have that mystery. Why is the dome there? What is the dome? How did it get there? Who put it there? Also, why Chester's Mill? Why this small town? There's a secret that the councilman and the sheriff are holding. Did that secret play into the reason this is happening, or is it just happening? Not since Lost has a pilot to a serialized show captured my interest. The pilot of Under the Dome is an excellent start, and I'm definitely looking forward to upcoming episodes. The question for the producers is, now that I'm definitely involved, you need to maintain my interest. You have to tell a compelling story, and you have to get me to know and understand these characters better. Also, this series is slated for 13 episodes. The producers have plans for more. And if you're a big fan of the book but didn't like the ending, no worries. They have changed the ending of the book, and to the satisfaction of Stephen King, to where he's really excited about that. And you can read more about that at Secret City Geek Lab. This is a television review. And now we have a video game review with Joey Shope. The game is State of Decay. The end is here. Life as you know it has all gone to hell, and the mother of all zombie outbreaks has occurred. Now you and a few scattered survivors must band together and rebuild your city. This is a third-person action game in a dynamic open world, and you choose where you make your stand. The game costs 1,600 Microsoft points. It's rated M for gore and violence, and here's Joey Shope with that review. All right, we've got a video game review with Joey Shope. This is State of Decay on the Xbox Arcade Network.
Yeah, I downloaded on the Arcade Network, and let me tell you, man, I've had a lot of fun with this game.
Okay, what's the basic plot or synopsis of it?
So, it's a zombie game. Right. But instead of, say Dead Island or other games of that genre where you're trying to kill as many zombies as possible or something to the effect of that, it's more about survival. And, it's really interesting because, you have to get resources. You have to get more people, otherwise your population's going to dwindle.
So this is not a first-person shooter?
This is not a first-person. This is third-person, again, kind of more survival-y. You do have guns, you do have weapons that you can kill zombies with.
It's kind of like Farmville, or where you're building a community. And...
to a much, much grander scale, yes, because you're put in this community where there's a city, there's a smaller town. It's like in the farm area, kind of. There's these tiny little farms, but then you have these huge cities that are full of zombies and other things. What I like a lot about this game is they don't spoon feed you this game. I feel like a lot of issues that I have with modern games is like, oh, here's how you shoot a gun, or here's how you do anything. Whereas this one, they don't treat you like a child. They
just give you stuff and
they essentially figure it out. There's an overarching theme. But what's crazy about it is, the very first character you can start off with can die, and once he's dead, he's gone forever. And then you can get other characters.
There's no respawning.
There's no respawning. Once this character is dead, you can play as other characters, but, now your main character's gone. Now it's all more about survival, less about the story.
So your goal here is to survive, so
yeah.
Is it about fighting zombies, warding off zombies, or finding food?
It's all that and more. It's a really great game. I've just been having so much fun playing it because, like I said, it's not just, oh, shoot a zombie in the head. It's, okay, I have to avoid these zombies, otherwise my character's going to die. This game is more about avoidance and survival than just taking a gun and shooting a zombie.
Okay, so it's not like Dead Rising, you just
you mow down as many zombies as possible. There's some little tongue-in-cheek things like, you can, get in a car and kill a bunch of zombies by running them over. That's even an achievement.
Right.
But, you know, but it's straight up a really great game. If you're into kind of harder games too, it's a kind of a hard game because, like I said, they're not spoon feeding you. That also means that you're going to get not a lot of tips and a lot of hints how to do it.
So it sounds like it's more of a strategy game than it is an action game.
Oh yeah, you're gonna be you as the person, you're gonna be spending a lot of time thinking, do I really want to do this action? Do I really want to go to this place over this place? Because each one of them might have more zombies or less zombies. The component you need might not be worth it in the end. You may lose someone you've been working with. I personally just lost somebody I've been playing with for 5 hours to a zombie, and I was like, This is terrible.
You cried. And
I didn't.
mourned.
There was a brief 5 minutes of silence for this character.
So let me ask you this then: are there missions to solve, or is it an open sandbox?
You have the choice. There are missions available, or you can just simply, do whatever you want.
Just exist.
Yeah. The more missions you get, to a point that unlocks certain things, like you can move your house, you can get more people, but technically, you could just be by yourself trying to survive.
Build a shack and have a gun and just...
Essentially, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I've just been having a lot of fun. It's only $20, and this is probably the best... This is the best XBLA game I've ever gotten.
Alright, so from a scale from 1 to 10, how would you score State of Decay?
A 9.
9. Alright, this is Joey with his video game review. Well, this has been episode 18 of Secret City Geek Lab. It's brought to you by Secret City Comic Society. I want to thank Opie, Michael, Joey, and Dimitri for being part of the show. Please visit us online at secretcitycomedy.com/geeklab. And until next time, we hope you have a great week.